I have never denied anything about the horrors.
Year-old Mohawk college student from India. On April 17, 2025, her innocent bystander taken from us while waiting for a bus on her way to work. In our grief, the father, I can only begin to imagine the grief that her family is enduring. The heartbreak of sending their child across the world to pursue her dreams only to receive the devastating news that she had been killed. Harsimrat's story is a stark reminder that public safety must be a priority. Harsimrat Randhawa was loved and will be remembered. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Kamloops, Shuswap, Central Rockies.
Mr. Speaker, it is an honour to rise as the representative for Kamloops, Shuswap, Central Rockies, a new riding for this 45th Parliament. I first wish to thank the voters, the volunteers, and their families who placed their trust in me. Kamloops Shuswap Central Rockies is a diverse riding, stretching from the Great Continental Divide at the BC-Alberta through the Shuswap Highlands to the ranching grasslands of Kamloops. It includes Craigellachie, where the last spike of the Canadian Pacific Railway was driven to unite Canada. It is home to 3 national parks and spans the headwater tributaries of the massive Columbia and Fraser rivers. But it is the people of this majestic riding that make it truly spectacular. It is the agriculturalists and artisans, the mountaineers and miners, the railroaders and retirees, all of the people of the Kamloops Shuswap Central Rockies that hold this seat in this House, and I pledge to do my best to ensure they are well represented.
The Honourable Member for Les Pays d'en Haut. Hello, Mr. Speaker, and thank you. Allow me, as I rise for the first time in this House of Commons, to tell you a great story from Les Pays d'en Haut. I stand before you and my honourable colleagues as the first federal member in the history of this new riding, and I'm very proud. If I have this incredible privilege, it's thanks to the hard work of my wife, Julie, my kids, Emma and William, all of my incredible team of volunteers who worked hard in my riding. Mr. Speaker, the riding of Les Pays d'en Haut is made up of mountains, lakes, trails, forests, and I will defend and protect them. And it's important for me to thank the people of Morin Heights who gave me their confidence as mayor for the last 16 years, and I'm certain that I will be able to continue to defend all members of the riding of Pays d'en Haut. Thank you.
Member for Niagara West.
Mr. Speaker, this is my first time rising in the House of Commons after a hard-fought election. I wholeheartedly thank the constituents of Niagara West for putting their trust in me for the 8th consecutive time. But I couldn't have done any of this without the hard work and the dedication of our excellent campaign team who got the job done. We had dozens and dozens of extraordinary volunteers. Thank you for all the work you did on our campaign. Rain or shine, cold or hot, they never gave up, even on those chilly, windy days, courtesy of our Great Lake, Ontario. Sign crews, door knockers, and many others, the best team in Canada. I will always remember and appreciate it. I would also like to thank my friends and family, my kids and my staff, but the biggest thank you goes to my wife, Rebecca. Rebecca is an amazing woman, and I can assure you she has lots of patience. Thank you, Rebecca, for standing as a team as we once again take this journey together. And now it's time to get back to hard work. Canada's need us these challenging times. Conservatives are here to work tirelessly on their behalf, and that's exactly what we're going to do.
The Honourable Member for Bourassa. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to thank the people of Bourassa for the great honor of representing them here in the House of Commons.
C'est un immense honneur que je...
It's a huge honor, and I also want to send a message to my colleagues. Despite our differences, we all share the same commitment to serve with integrity, to listen, and to serve with humility as we represent the voice of those who put us here. Let's make this Parliament a moment of progress and respect for all Canadians. We are here to bring about change despite any challenge that we face. Every word that will be spoken here in this House can change lives. I will share with my colleagues a quote from Nelson Mandela, who said, "Everything seems impossible until it's done. So let's make this Parliament a place where the impossible can be done."
The honourable member for Prince Albert.
Before I begin, I'd like to thank the residents of the riding of Prince Albert for my re-election, me as their Member of Parliament. As members of this House are aware, my home province of Saskatchewan is experiencing one of the worst starts to the wildfire season on record. More than 500,000 hectares have been burned, and as of Sunday afternoon, 20 communities remained under evacuation orders. 15 active wildfires are forcing residents from communities such as Timber Bay, Hall Lake, Pelican Narrows to flee their homes. Premier Scott Moe recently spoke about the value of developing a national investment strategy, one where critical resources like air tankers can be owned by the country and shared across jurisdictions to meet the surge capacity when and where needed. It is about protecting our communities, our forests, and our future. Thank you to the firefighters and emergency personnel who are putting themselves at great risk to protect our communities. And please, let us all pray for rain.
The honourable member for Cardigan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Having spent most of my life as a dairy farmer in eastern Prince Edward Island, I'd like to take this opportunity to raise a glass to all the dairy farmers across this nation. As you may know, World Milk Day was June 1st. It's a day celebrated around the world. It highlights the nutritional value of milk and recognizes the hard work of our dairy farmers, the women and men who work so hard every day to provide safe and nutritious milk to Canadians. With over 9,000 Canadian dairy farms, the dairy sector supports over 270,000 full-time jobs in communities in every province across this country. A healthy, vibrant dairy sector brings stability to both rural and urban communities while supporting the vitality of its related industries. I'm proud to be a Canadian dairy farmer, to be the son of a dairy farmer, the father of another, and to coin a phrase from the members opposite, I come from boots, not suits. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Caribou Prince George.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals' throne speech was 2,500 words, yet there wasn't one mention of the opioid crisis or the unprecedented crime wave caused by their policies. Last week in my hometown of Williams Lake, the City Council passed a motion to declare a state of emergency in response to the rising rates of vandalism, open drug use, arson, theft, overdose, and public indecency. Businesses can't even secure the mandatory insurance due to the high rates of vandalism. Meanwhile, the city is experiencing between 20 and 30 overdoses per day. City Councillor Scott Nelson said this: "The rates of crime, vandalism, drugs, and overdoses have skyrocketed and it's out of control. Williams Lake, a population of 10,000, 6 prolific offenders commit over 98% of the crime. When they're in jail, the crime rate goes down. When they're out, it skyrockets. This new government must finally take the fentanyl crisis seriously. Get tough on crime, lock up repeat offenders, and keep our communities safe."
The honourable member for Pierre Boucher, Les Patriotes, Verchères. In New France in 1724, 4 brothers under the age of 20, François, Jacques, Jean, and Pierre Archambault, settled on the banks of the Richelieu River on land that was then part of the Contrecoeur Seigneurie. They were joined by other families until they were numerous enough in 1750 to build their own church. After the deportation of 1755, they welcomed many refugees who settled in what is now known as the Rang de l'Acadie. And on November 23, 1837, thanks to reinforcements from Saint-Antoine, the Patriotes won the victory at Saint-Denis, and among them was a certain Georges-Étienne Cartier, who later changed allegiance. Today, Saint-Antoine has retained all of its charm and all of its history, and my ancestor, François Guertin, could never have imagined as he cleared his land that 300 years later, one of his descendants would be in Parliament to celebrate the 275th anniversary of his village, one of those beautiful villages on earth. Happy 275th anniversary to all the men and women of Saint-Antoine.
Member for Humber River, Black Creek.
Mr. Speaker, I am honoured, as are my colleagues, to rise in the House for the 45th Parliament to say thank you to the constituents of Humber River, Black Creek for giving me the great opportunity and privilege of representing them for the 10th time here in Ottawa. I want to thank my tireless husband Sam, my children Kathy, Deanna and Sam for their continued support. A special thanks to my son-in-law Graziano for his immense support during the election, and daughter-in-law Claudia and the grandchildren. My staff, Amy, Albert, Abby, Stephanie, and Zanya, for their dedication to helping the residents of Humber River, Black Creek every day. I would not have been elected and re-elected without the tireless efforts of the many volunteers during the campaign. To name a few, Terrell, Chris, Juan, Marina, Chris, Dave, Miss Emma, and Marianne. There are many more I would like to acknowledge, however my time is unfortunately limited. I will continue to honour my oath to serve our community of Humber River, Black Creek, dedication and integrity as we work together to build a better Canada. Thank you.
Full member for Sudbury East, Manitoulin, Nickel Belt.
Mr. Speaker, last week this Liberal government tabled a $486 billion spending bill. The Prime Minister promised during the election that he would govern Canada with the new fiscal discipline. Well, Mr. Speaker, it seems like we have a case of meet the new boss just as the same as the old boss. While many people in Northern Ontario struggle to make ends meet with the ever-increasing costs of everyday life, the Liberals don't get it. They seem to talk a good game of fiscal restraint, but talk is cheap, unlike the cost of life. The Liberals don't get it. They seem to talk a good game of fiscal restraint, but talk is cheap, unlike the cost of living. The Prime Minister's first bill does nothing to ease the burden of skyrocketing mortgage payments, groceries, and energy. Instead, it increases government spending by 8%, including a 36% increase for consultants. When will the Liberals put the interests of everyday Canadians ahead of their well-connected insiders in Ottawa?
The honourable member for Scarborough, Agincourt.
Mr. Speaker, thank you to the people of Scarborough, Agincourt for placing their trust in me a fourth time. Much appreciation and gratitude to the many volunteers, supporters, campaign team, and my family who all worked so hard to allow me to continue to be a voice in Ottawa and also in the riding. I am here for you and because of you. I want to welcome all the new constituents who have joined Scarborough Agincourt because of the federal electoral boundary changes. I will focus on affordability, tariff concerns, and community safety, which is what I heard at the doors. We are truly a vibrant community, which is reflected in our many places of worship, small businesses, and excellent restaurants. I am so very proud to represent one of the most culturally diverse ridings in Canada. Thank you.
The honourable member for Carlton Trail, Eagle Creek.
The Prime Minister has repeatedly refused to be transparent about his financial holdings. Instead of coming clean about his financial interests, he dumped his assets into a blind trust, exposing a loophole in Canada's financial disclosure laws. Through this scheme, he is keeping his financial interests a secret from Canadians in order to escape accountability. This follows a pattern of shady actions. Prior to becoming Prime Minister, he held two multi-billion-dollar funds in offshore tax havens so his company, Brookfield, could avoid paying Canadian taxes. After tabling a spending bill asking for $500 billion, Canadians deserve to know if the Prime Minister is using that spending to boost his own investment portfolio. The Prime Minister must tell Canadians what assets he held when he entered public office and if those assets were held in offshore tax havens to avoid paying Canadian taxes.
The Honourable Member for Rivière-des-Mille-Îles. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's with great humility that I accept this second mandate. The people of Rivière-du-Mille-Îles offered me that in the last election, and I truly appreciate it. I thank them from the bottom of my heart. Mr. Speaker, it's so... I'm sorry. To all my colleagues, any seat is a very important seat in this House of Commons, believe me. And I'll say it to all new members. I wouldn't have been able to do this without the support of my partner, my kids, my family, and my friends. And especially without the support of my volunteers, Mr. Speaker. It's been such a long time, and they worked so hard. I'm sorry to the honourable member, but...
The honourable member for Niagara South.
Mr. Speaker, after the lost Liberal decade, Canadians can no longer afford the housing hell created by these Liberals. According to one homeless report in the Niagara region, chronic homelessness is up 41%. The problem is only getting worse, and I can see the evidence in every community in my riding. According to one home building association, housing starts are decelerating rapidly, and a massive supply deficit is beginning to take place. Meanwhile, existing homeowners are also struggling. According to Equifax, homeowners experiencing a 6% increase in people unable to make a mortgage payment. And the 90-day plus mortgage delinquency is increased by 71% across Ontario.
Shame.
The Liberal plan will create a second housing bureaucracy and will do nothing to build more homes. Canadians want action. Conservatives will continue to support a real plan that will lower taxes and make life more affordable and bring home the dream of home ownership.
The honourable member for Cape Breton, Canso, Antigonish.
Mr. Speaker, as I rise for the first time as Member of Parliament for Cape Breton, Canso, Antigonish, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the constituents of our riding for putting their trust in me as their representative. And to my campaign team, this journey would not have been possible without you. Mr. Speaker, June is National Indigenous History Month in Canada. It is a month to celebrate Indigenous culture. It is a time to reflect on our shared history, and it is a time to acknowledge the vast contributions of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. National Indigenous History Month is also an opportunity to embrace Indigenous events in our communities, hear the beautiful languages, and support the work of Indigenous arts and crafts. I encourage all Canadians to get involved with National Indigenous History Month this June. Walaliek, Miigwech, Marci, Nokamik.
Oral questions. Questions orales. The honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
The Prime Minister ran on elbows up, promising dollar-for-dollar tariffs on the U.S. and promising this would generate $20 billion in revenue. It turns out it was actually elbows down, and the Prime Minister broke his promise and secretly cancelled those tariffs. Now Trump is threatening 50% tariffs on Canadian steel, which will devastate Canada's steel industry and put thousands of steel workers out of their jobs. Can the Prime Minister look steel workers in the eye, tell them it wasn't actually elbows down, and how much money his tariffs will actually generate?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Clearing this house and the Prime Minister, we will fight, Mr. Speaker, against these unjustified and illegal tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminium, Mr. Speaker. We're going to protect our workers and our industry, and the Minister of Industry already spoke about that over the weekend. And we're going to build a strong Canada, Mr. Speaker. We're going to build a Canada of tomorrow, a confident Canada, a prosperous Canada, a Canada that we can all be proud, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
It doesn't matter which Liberal stands up to answer a question in this Parliament or last Parliament. They just actually never answer a question, Mr. Speaker. And it's not complicated. Elbows Up was dollar for dollar tariffs. Has the Prime Minister already broken his promise to steelworkers, or was Elbows Up simply just fake news? And now we're facing the Trump tariffs, and steelworkers from coast to coast to coast are in serious jeopardy of losing their jobs. It's a simple question. How much money from these quote-unquote Elbows Up tariffs have they generated?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
There's a lot of anxiety across the country, particularly when it comes to the steel and aluminum sectors. That's why over the weekend I've been in contact with industry leaders as well as union leaders, and we will continue to make sure that we protect their jobs. In order to be in solution mode, Mr. Speaker, we will make sure that Canadian steel and aluminum is used in our major infrastructure projects. That is why steel workers have said over the weekend, at a time where our steel and aluminum sectors are being hit by massive U.S. tariffs, this is the kind of leadership we've been demanding, and it has delivered.
The honourable member for Kildonan St. Paul.
To be clear, the Prime Minister promised Elbows Up against U.S. tariffs. He promised dollar-for-dollar counter tariffs. He promised it would generate $20 billion in revenue, but he broke those promises. He secretly dropped counter tariffs to effectively zero. He stopped fighting back against President Trump pretty early on, and now Trump is threatening to double tariffs on Canadian steel to 50%, a direct attack against our workers, their livelihoods, and the Canadian economy. So if the Prime Minister really is Elbows Up, if he's really fighting back, can he tell our steelworkers how many dollars have been collected in counter tariff revenue from the U.S.? How many dollars? What's the number, Mr. Speaker?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to thank my colleague and congratulate her for the fact that she will be now my critic. So good news, looking forward to working with her. Indeed, the comments coming out of the White House are preoccupying. That being said, no executive order has been signed yet. So we take these comments very seriously, but we are working on all scenarios. That's why the Prime Minister is in Saskatoon meeting with the premiers of the provinces and territories, and that's also why we will make sure that we execute our plan, fight, protect, and build.
The honourable member for Kildonan St. Paul.
I didn't hear a dollar amount on revenue from those counter tariffs, so we can assume it's effectively zero. And if the steel tariffs weren't bad enough, the Prime Minister is determined to keep the industrial carbon tax on our steel production, driving up the cost of steel production here at home, which perhaps is really no surprise given the Prime Minister said he claimed that Canadians don't even use that much steel, as if we don't use dishwashers and fridges and cars and pots and pans and baby strollers and housing infrastructure, all of which are made with steel, Mr. Speaker. So how can the Prime Minister claim to be Elbows Up for workers and fighting for affordability while keeping a punishing carbon tax on our Canadian steel producers?
The Honourable Minister of Finance and National Revenue.
We'll take no lesson from the Conservatives, Mr. Speaker. We have put in place as a country, as a nation, the largest counter-tariff in our nation history, Mr. Speaker, to protect our industry, Mr. Speaker. We should all in this room, in this House, stand proudly to defend Canadian workers, defend Canadian industry, and build Canada strong. That's Canadian, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord. Mr. Speaker, aluminium workers in Saguenay are very concerned. The Prime Minister promised Canadians that he would stand up to Americans and their tariffs. And now Mr. Trump is threatening to slap once again a 50% tariff on aluminum. Meanwhile, the Liberal government has reduced tariffs on American products to almost nothing. But the Prime Minister told us he would collect $2 billion. Can Saguenay workers know how much the Prime Minister has collected in counter tariffs to date? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Listen, I understand the anxiety that my colleague has expressed, and this is throughout the aluminum sector, and that's why over the weekend I went to the Aluminum Summit Sunday evening in Montreal to meet with not only industry leaders, but also to talk with the union leaders. We're going to continue to support our aluminum sector in Quebec, and we're going to use aluminum and Quebec steel and Canadian steel in our infrastructure projects. We're going to create jobs, we're going to protect these workers, and we're going to be able to defend our country against this injustice from the White House. The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord. Mr. Speaker, many Canadians voted for this Prime Minister thinking he would stand up to Mr. Trump. But it didn't take long for him to remove the counter tariffs on American products. Then he said he would be more fiscally responsible, but he presented spending forecasts that even outstripped those of his predecessor. He talks like a conservative, but governs like Justin Trudeau. He says one thing and then does another. When will this Prime Minister stop talking out of both sides of his mouth? The Honourable Minister of Finance and National Revenue. I'm surprised to hear my colleagues' comments. He should be proud that our PM standing up to the President. We did not capitulate. We're standing up to defend workers in this industry. We know how important the aluminum industry is in Quebec. We know the expertise of our workers, and the best aluminum in the world is produced in Canada and Quebec, and we're going to continue to defend this industry and our workers and build a strong country together. The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals got elected by promising that Trump's tariff threats would be their top priority. And yet, it's not the new tariff threats on aluminum and steel that are being discussed today in Saskatoon between the premiers. No, the priority being discussed is forcing Quebec to accept a dirty oil pipeline from the West. Quebecers voted for a government that would protect them from Donald Trump. They did not vote for pipelines. Are the Liberals going to get their priorities straight?